Hello everyone, this is Group 4 and today we're going to talk about the chocolate industry. I believe that everyone is familiar with chocolate, right? It is one of the favorites by the public and there is potential that dominate the confectionery market. Therefore, we have picked three major companies to discuss how they're going to maintain its status and analyze its limitation in depth in the following sections. According to Euromonitor, the world's biggest chocolate consumer is Switzerland, while the rest of the top 10 are mainly from European countries. However, Asia is seen as the most potential rising market in chocolate industry, and it has been growing rapidly and created a high competition. Mondelez International is an American-based company comprising different sectors of food such as dairy, milk, cheese, sweets, and ice cream. After an acquisition of Cadbury, it strengthens its cooperation in the chocolate sector and become one of the top chocolate producers in the world. Only in 2014, its net profit of chocolate sector is exceeding major competitors as the second largest chocolatier. With its historical success in UK, Cadbury has been producing some famous chocolates such as Whisper, Dairy Milk, and Twirl. Lindt is a Swiss company founded in 1845, famous with its popular chocolate truffles. Lindt also constantly launch their chocolate products into different countries by opening 8 cafes in Australia, mainly serving chocolate desserts and breakfast. With an increasing recognition over the world, Lindt has been ranked as the top 8 bestsellers in terms of net sales in 2016. And now we're going to talk about Deste. It is another good chocolatier from Swiss and has some multi-operations in different areas, such as baby food and cereals. It has been named as the top and the largest manufacturer in terms of revenue. As one of the most producers of chocolate in the world, they have created some of the famous chocolates such as Kit Kat and Smarties, and it is one of the top 5 chocolate producers in 2016. Kit Kat is also one of the best sellers in UK for chocolate. For the following slide, my groupmate will be talking about the Porter's 5 forces.
Having introduced our three chocolate brands, I will discuss Porter's five forces to analyze the industry structure as a whole. The first force I will discuss is the threat of new entrants, which is low in the chocolate industry. Firstly, this is so because of the heavy capital requirement. Superior quality raw materials have to be sourced. For example, Lindt annually spends close to USD 10 million on cocoa supply. Also, the cost of sophisticated machinery is high, coupled with a heavy expenditure on advertising and promotion. Second, there is an unequal access to distribution channels. New companies are faced with the additional burden of acquiring shelf space in comparison to well established companies which have built their distribution network over several years. Third, one of the most significant benefits to existing firms in the industry is the cost advantage they derive through economies of scale. Next, I will discuss the force of intensity of rivalry which is high in the chocolate industry. First, there are a large number of players across the world to cater to the tastes of local consumers. For example, the famous Japanese chocolate brand Meiji chocolates are generally dark and less sweet compared to Swiss brands. Next, coming to the ambitions of business rivals, the chocolate industry is characterized as an industry where business players are constantly adapting their flavor range to meet changing social trends. An example may be Nestle's green tea Kit Kat and Lindt's latest white chocolate matcha ice drink. Thirdly, exit barriers. Highly specialized assets are used for the production of chocolate, which prove to be an exit barrier. An example of these costs are the millions chocolate brands are investing in sustainable cocoa farming processes. The last force I will discuss is the bargaining power of suppliers, which is moderate in the chocolate industry. First, there is a high switching cost of industry participants. Top companies, being concerned about their brand image, develop sustainable sourcing techniques with their select group of suppliers. Hence, suppliers are not easily interchangeable. Next, the presence of product substitutes is low. This is so because the chocolate industry is reaching new heights of flavor innovation to cater to the exotic tastes of consumers. Lindt's exotic fruit collection is a good example of product specificity. Lastly, there is little or no threat of forward integration. This is so because although it may be true that industry participants make more money relative to suppliers, chocolate brands have established their reputation and distribution network over a long period of time, and as such, suppliers are not induced to enter the market.
Now I'll talk about the bargaining power of the buyers. We need to take into account of some reasons. First, the number of buyers. The buyer concentration to the firm concentration, the switching cost, the information, price sensitivity, and the availability of the substitutes. The above factors will affect the ability of customers to purchase the firm's pricing, quality, and services. A powerful buyer can force down the price demand or demand for the better quality or services. First, I will talk about the number of buyers. Chocolate, as a famous and tasty snack ranging from low prices to high prices, has a very large market. Nearly 80% of the US adult consumers say they eat chocolate candy. Second, CNBC reports that the overall chocolate market has rose 13% between the 2010 and 2015 to hit the 101 billion. And the third point is that in the US, chocolate is the largest subcategory of the 34.5 billion confectionery industry, with sales accounting for 21.1 billion, which is over 60% of the confectionery industry. The large number of buyers imply a low bargaining power of buyers, as one buyer in the large proportion not to buy chocolate will have no much effect on the revenue. Second, about the switching cost. For our chosen brand, these chocolate producers mostly target at low price consumption and casual snacks for the buyers. Buyers have less focus in the quality but the price. The three brands are acceptable price and quality to the buyers and no specific preference. The undifferentiated nature makes the brand loyalty very low. Therefore, the switching cost is low. And the third point is the price sensitivity. For our chosen brand, as more customers focus on price instead of the quality, the low price of the chocolate products makes the fluctuation of the small price change will have a very large impact. For example, increasing 10 of originally $1,000 is just 0.1% increase, while 1 out of 10 is a very big change. Therefore, for our chosen brand, the target on low price market customers are very sensitivity to the price change. For the threat of substitute products and services, we need to take into account of any substitute performs the same or similar function by different means, and the cost of switching to the substitute. For the substitute of the chocolate, actually there are different kinds of common snacks, such as candies, gums, and biscuits. There are numerous similar snacks choices for customers to choose. Second, for the cost of subsidies. The above cases of the snacks such as the candies, gums, biscuits actually are fairly the same price as chocolate. Though with different tastes, they all work as the same function of snacks with equal price. So I can say that the threat of subsidy is quite high for the case.
Now, let's focus on the past analysis and connect the dots with the companies we've focused on. First of all, West African countries, especially the Ivory Coast, are the world leaders in terms of cocoa beans production and trade, accounting for more than 32% on its stock market. Nevertheless, this nation is affected by several factors. We're going to focus on two major ones: political conflict and governmental implication. Since 2011, political conflict is a real issue impacting Ivory Coast development. The war resulted in a decreasing amount of trade and investment in local areas. High taxes on commodities from government is also slowing down Ivory Coast growth. Now, political conflict and government implications do not only impact the country on a regional scale. Corporations are now facing delicate cross-border relationship, but they also need to stay in line with international legislation. Nestlé, whom are trying to reach new emerging markets, is strongly investigating in internationalization processes to limit the impact. Nevertheless, the World Cocoa Foundation, for instance, is actively trying to improve firm-supplier relationship. Moreover, Lind took over the initiative to develop the Ghana Traceable Project. Both of these measures have a common goal: create a sustainable framework using powerful entities in order to limit political factors from affecting the industry by ensuring the good cares of suppliers. Let's move on to the economic influence over the chocolate industry. The cacao industry plays a major role on the global scale in terms of trade but also in terms of its value chain, in regard to the cacao's production, transformation, and commercialization. In the food processing industry, the exchange of cacao is known to be the third most important with a total revenue of more than $10 billion annually. However, as we can expect, the economic recession did hurt the industry quite severely. The response from corporations in order to balance the economies of scale was obviously to cut down costs. So how did they do that? Well, first of all, looking at the Mondelez Group, they decided to invest 75 million euros on the modernization of the Bournesville factory near Birmingham, UK. The investment resulted in a 20% decrease in operating cost. Other techniques can be used to drive costs down, such as the standardization of crops through mass-intensive farming, bulk production, or GMOs crop. Finally, the chocolate industry is considered as an oligopolistic market, as 99% of the market shares are held by only a dozen of corporations, including the one we've looked at. Thus, economic speculation is another factor affecting the industry. Along with that, the cocoa commodity is very volatile, and its fluctuations determine the price and the accessibility of multiple normal goods, chocolate for instance. Thus, the consequences ripples down and can be felt along the supply chain in terms of cost but also quality.
Okay, so moving forward, I'll be analyzing the socio-cultural and technological factors influencing the chocolate industry. The chocolate industry is highly impacted by the changes in consumer lifestyle, attitudes, and behaviors. In recent years, there has been a booming wellness industry, and this created a buzz around food labels such as organic, vegan-friendly, low-carb, and etc. There is also the influence of the media and celebrities who are promoting these well-being ideals. As a result, consumers are becoming very health conscious, and this really influences their purchasing decisions when it comes to food. Furthermore, obesity and diabetes is rising at a staggering rate on a global scale, and according to the WHO, worldwide obesity has tripled since 1975. We can really see the impact of this health trend from the case of Lindt Chocolate, who faced stagnated sales growth globally in 2017. The company attributed this decline to low demand for chocolate. Therefore, it's essential that chocolate producers and brands are adapting to these new consumer needs, such as offering sugar-free alternatives or innovating new products that promote health. Due to the environmental and human rights issues like human trafficking associated with cocoa production, the chocolate industry is highly susceptible to the scrutiny of NGOs. The Ivory Coast Farms in Africa is the main cocoa supplier to Nestlé, and in 2015 it has been discovered that the farms are using forced, unpaid child labor. To mitigate this risk, Nestlé has announced its participation in the Fair Trade sourcing program for its KitKat 2 and Four Finger chocolate. They are now committed to buy all the raw materials on strictly fair trade terms. There are also religious sensitivities. For example, Cadbury in the past have faced criticisms over halal certification for the chocolate bars. We will now look at the main technological factors. Advancements in technology has provided an array of opportunities in innovating the upstream and downstream activities of the chocolate industry. Cadbury and Nestlé definitely leveraged from these developments. For example, Cadbury were able to develop heat-resistant chocolates, and Nestlé were capable of establishing a global network of R&D centers that aim to formulate and innovate new confectionery products and manufacturing techniques. Finally, the internet and social media enable chocolate firms to expand its marketing and sales capabilities. Brands like Cadbury and KitKat are able to establish meaningful connections with global consumers via Facebook and Instagram, as well as making sales through a variety of e-commerce channels.
Overall, due to changing surrounding factors, it is essential for companies to notice and take appropriate actions as quick as possible in order to manage the business strategies that to be adopted for the economy of scales. Within a stressful, high-pressure and competitive market, they are facing an immense issue, ethical way to source cocoa. Otherwise, it is challenging and controversial for the major chocolatier It is unlikely to keep their market online because of the changing psychological behavior of consumers. It is predicted that there are increasing number of companies that have the intention of getting into the Asian market. However, there may be different flavors preferences between the West and East. To deal with it, chocolate companies may take Muji as a reference, integrating vegetables into chocolate for suiting the demand of the public. It is a compulsory part for European chocolatier to understand the local culture and preferences before entering the market. For the current situations, Lind has greatly adapted by using AAA strategies. They have chosen Japan as an experimental country to start off improving its publicity and localize their products into favorable food in Japan. White chocolate matcha ice drinks as a local addition, which is a really good example to show their adaptation to suit the demand and develop their local recognition. By doing this, it is expected to have a good rise in Asian market. That's pretty much for our conclusion, and thank you.